Let's talk about characters, weapons, and overall combat, because I think it deserves its own point, because there's a lot to go over. First and foremost, characters. I'm showing you the weapon and the character banner here because these are going to be where you're getting your new ones from. It is a 60-40 for the character banner with 160 as the guarantee. As you see here, they will eventually be added to standard. Do I know what date that's going to be? No. Do I know how long the difference is? No. Unfortunately. The weapon banner has a 75-25 similar to Hoyoverse ones, but it's a pity or guarantee count of 120, and they will immediately be added to standard. Does that change your opinion? Probably not. So because the content in this game is organized around your roguelike, and the roguelike is organized around mono or duo elemental teams, and I want to really just say it's basically mono. I understand that roguelike lists two separate elements, but if we're going into the content that you're actually going to be playing, like Menace Arena here, it's mono elemental. I can't speak on Terra or Earth because it's currently not in the game yet. I don't have access to that element, and then the characters I have access to it, and even if I did have one character, that's not enough to build a full team around. So ignoring that, we have Lux, Aqua, Ventus, and Ignis and Umbra. Your teams are going to be based around 3 characters with 1 on field. In this instance, it's Cosette, Mystique, and Caramel. These 2 are off-field units. I can swap them around, yes, to determine who's my on-field character that I actively play, and I recommend you do some testing on your own because every character has a different range, every character has a different attack speed, and you may find one unit who you prefer vastly over the others. For me, my Umbra team is the strongest. The reason it's important to consider this is because once you do this run and you set this as a record, you cannot, even in normal content, as an example, let's go over to the bounty trials, which is where I'm farming at. And let's say I'm just going for general skill mats. The problem you run into is that once you have a record, you cannot swap characters around. So you need to be sure the character you're playing is one you actively enjoy the playstyle of, and a team is one you actively enjoy the arrangement of. But ignoring that, once you complete a roguelike mode, because there are 3 separate towers, and eventually this one's going to have Lux and Terra, you are going to be able to sweep it. You have to have completed that difficulty of that specific tower manually first. You cannot sweep one of a higher difficulty, and you cannot sweep one of a similar difficulty even if you've cleared it unless you've manually done it for that specific elemental tower. So you need to have done these anyway. There is the research points. These are just generalist buffs. You will be doing this passively, and that's not really important to the combat of what you'll be doing, but I think it's nice to mention. If you're going for an Umbra team, you will need to level up 3 units in the same way as every other character and every other team. However, once you have your 3 units, let's say you're like me and you like Cosette's gameplay, you need to organize 3 main discs and 3 support discs. This is important because you need to do this for every element. As you see here, these ones benefit Umbra. This one here is neutral. It does not benefit a specific element, but is a low rarity one. And so you're leveling up characters of different elements to match together to make a team of a different element or a team of the same elements. Or alternatively, if you're wanting for a bit more of a generalist go, you're leveling up at least 1 character of each element just so you can slide them in. As an example, let's say I don't need Cosette in this team and I want this to be a Lux-oriented team for some Lux content. I could slide in Noya, level her up, and then this team still works, but the downside is the buffs may not synergize well, because if they buff Umbra damage, Noya isn't getting any benefit, and that's kind of a downside. You have, and this is something I want to mention, just so all of you understand. Your non-elemental low rarity ones is a skill damage bonus. It's a one-time damage bonus, whether it's skill, ultimate, basic, whatever. Your slightly higher rarity ones, if we're going into, let's say we're taking this out and we're going into this one, just as an example. This one is a attack buff for characters of a specific element, mark damage buff for characters after they cast their skill, and then a bonus for aqua characters. This is why I say it's basically a mono elemental game. And this is a 5-star. Umbra damage bonus increase at 40%. Additional increase of 15%. Attack increase after Umbra characters use a support skill. Mystique, this is basically tied to Mystique because she's, as of right now, I believe, the only character who actually summons minions. An attack increase. Another Umbra skill damage bonus. Another skill damage bonus. This is a 5-star, and this isn't even like a signature one, this is a standard one, so I want you to keep that in mind. There is a vast difference in my opinion, and it can be a really big turnoff if you don't enjoy the concept of pulling on a weapon banner. If you're just here for collecting waifus, I can see you being pushed away by that. Especially given the investment required, leveling up 1 of the, or all 3 of these for a specific element, unless you go with the very, very generalist options, which is all lower rarities, it can suck. Now, what you would notice is it says assisted battle. That's up here. If you are a BA player or an HSR player, please keep in mind, assisted battle is not the same thing as auto battle. Turning it off, this is my character's attack range. J, or left mouse click, is my main character's skill. E is a support character skill, and Q is a support character skill. If I turn on, as you see, I'm still actively moving because of her basic attacks towards the enemy, and this is how you select your buffs. I still actively have to move S and D, and then spacebar to dash or dodge. If I click on assisted battle, it only uses the skills when enemies are within range. It does not move me towards enemies, it does not dodge attacks, I still have to actively do that myself. So if I take my hands completely off the game, I'm just waiting. And so please understand, this is not, in my opinion at least, an auto battler. You will need to manually, especially for certain enemies that decide they want to stick out of your range. I can see a benefit to ranged characters as a result. And this is generally what your roguelike experience would be, at least as you manually run through these domains. Some characters are very cute, I approve. Destiny cards are what you'll unlock later on as a result of doing research. And if you're looking through the map here, I'm in 1-3. 3-9 is the final stage. So I'm going to give up for now because I don't really care too much about this run. I just wanted to use it as an example. The 5-star discs come with unique music in the disc screen, not for the main menu. The lobby music, in my opinion, is pretty bad, and they're not animated, as you see here. The characters are animated, the discs are not. Really disappointing thing. And for those of you interested, the discs themselves do have crescendo features, meaning you can get duplicates of them. However, unfortunately, I cannot even see the strength of that duplicate. So your characters are in a different position. If I'm going to the on-banner girl Freesia right now, you have your skills, which are leveling up, your potentials, which are the buffs you can get within the roguelike mode for main, which is the on-field unit, or the support unit if she is a supporting character. And then you have your talents, which require duplicates. Within this menu, it says participating in events. I cannot guarantee the consistency of those events. I cannot speak on how many you get or the feasibility of maxing out a character strictly from those events. As of right now, the only way I can verify is picking up dupes, and that's because I've gotten a few dupes of Teresa. I like Teresa, don't get me wrong, but I can't speak on getting or upgrading characters outside of that. In terms of strength, I'd say the initial ones are the best. In this one, it's aqua damage bonus. For this one, it's crit damage bonus. And obviously factors like cold or frozen enemies can be influenced by the buffs you obtain throughout the roguelike. And so you can get a good feel for what these additional dupes can benefit you. And obviously some of them can be mitigated or lessened by getting specific buffs from the roguelike, but that requires a bit more RNG. Characters start out with a base fit. Teresa, this is what it looks like initially, and then once you ascend them beyond a certain point, they unlock exclusive art. I love this art, it's very cute. I think the fan service is actually quite nice. And you can even view the 3D models. I don't know if this means they intend to add different skins. I hope so, but it's nice nonetheless. And this applies to every character. You can preview it anyway. Once again, it's quite nice. Now, how impactful is all this in actual general gameplay? Well, gameplay depends on specific elements, as I've shown you here in Menace Arena. Ignoring Infinite Arena, you want specific elements, or at least some form of beneficial element, at least one character on that team. Bounty Hunt is not too bad in my opinion, it's just a boss fight. Boss Blitz, hey, do as much damage as you can to the boss in a limited time, but it does want specific elements. As in Survivor, it's kill as many enemies in specific time. Want specific elements. Apex Showdown, I can't speak on. It's not out yet, so I can't actively tell you about what it's going to essentially be like. And so I don't want to give you, I'd rather tell you what it's like as of right now than be hopeful and not mention it with the expectation of it getting better or getting fixed. I can only speak on what I've actively played. Some characters feel very clunky to me. Freesia feels very clunky. I like Cosette's style, but even though certain characters, if we're looking at, as an example, Teresa, does indeed give you a shield, it's not a dedicated healer. And from what I can see with the supports I currently have, there is no dedicated healing unit, at least categorized as a support. And considering the RNG required, you may be in a bad position unless the roster expands. If the roster is like at least twice as large on actual launch, and maybe they add lower rarity characters, great. Arcanine has lower rarity characters, they do fine. Azur Lane has low rarity characters, they do fine. But not having them at all means that you're in a position to where you're required to engage with the RNG gacha system in the hopes that you get what you want to actively benefit your team. You could be in a position to where you only have one character of each element, or one character of a specific element, and can't properly engage with it, and I think that's a bad idea. I think that's a bad situation to be in. I think this game has potential, but I understand people not liking that aspect. The roguelike, for me, it's been fun. I think early on it can be a little bit tedious because you have to do it so often, but so long as I think you should, I believe that if you want to enjoy this game a bit more, narrow down on one team archetype you like and just stick with that. Don't go trying to do all of these, just do what I did in this instance and just pick one element that you're like, I like the characters of, do that one, and you can go at the other ones later on. Especially as you unlock those higher difficulties. I haven't done Lux's Tower, which means that once I finally hit authorization level 40, I can just do the highest difficulty one instead of having to slog through each and every one. But that is just me. To show you exactly what it looks like, in terms of boss fights, I will drag in a team that doesn't really benefit or fit the elemental requirements of this team, but it's currently my strongest record. As you see, there is a dodge mechanic. I don't think the system is bad by any means. I just question the usefulness of a dodge mechanic when sometimes you can't see what's going on the screen. But there is at least a benefit to including that assist mode, meaning it allows you to focus in on just dodging. You are immune whilst casting your ultimate. That is a nice feature. But if looking just for generalist gameplay comparisons, this is much more close to Deadly Assault. Either way though, I look forward to your thoughts down below. Tell me what you think. Are you going to be trying this game out at the minimum? I think the Hoyo gacha style, in my opinion, is the biggest gripe I have with this game. Outside of that, I think it has a lot of potential. I do actively enjoy what I'm seeing, and the story, in my opinion, is pretty good. It's just everything else outside of that. Either way, I'll see you next time.